Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this international webinar convened by South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. We are commemorating the International Day of Democracy. Our theme for this day today is Democracy in South Asia, Representation, Rights, and Realities for Marginalized Communities. We ask us to confront an urgent question, which is like what democracy means when its very essence, representation, and equality is being hollowed out across the region and throughout the world. From Nepal, where this illusionment with political elites is fueling instability, to Sri Lanka, which is still grappling with an economic and political crisis that tested its democratic resilience, to India and Pakistan, where the majoritarian and authoritarian impulses are reshaping institutions. We see troubling signs of backsliding of democracy. Autocratic regimes across South Asia are tightening its tentacles, shrinking their civic space, and leaving marginalized communities even more at risk and vulnerability. Today's discussion is not just about diagnosing these problems. It is about imagining how democracy in South Asia can be reclaimed, re-energized, and made genuinely inclusive. And to walk us through this insights today, we have the company of Ms. Sulochana, Ramiah Mohan, who is a national award-winning journalist. She's an independent journalist as well. So she's the deputy editor of Ceylon today. We also have the company of Mr. Usman Shamim Siddiqui, who is a Commonwealth shared fellow who teaches politics and peace studies at the University of Okara. Begin with a question, Sulochana. Sri Lanka's democratic institutions have been under enormous strain. Very recently, like after the aftermath of protests against corruption and economic collapse, how do you see marginalized communities, especially minorities, I would say religious minorities, navigating this volatile democratic landscape, and what lessons might other South Asian states draw from Sri Lanka's struggle to balance accountability with stability, with your journalistic lens as well?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Furqan and the rest. It's my privilege. I really like to be part of your team all the time. I don't want to say no to you, but here I am again. I came rushing down to the office to say hi and to be part of this, give some information regarding Sri Lanka. And the democratic pattern of Sri Lanka itself is a little shaky. You know, you must understand the democracy means it's equality, equity, freedom of speech, everything comes to everyone. Everybody is a human being. But there are little clauses that are taken out of context by the majority people of this country. When the constitution protects everyone, it also gives a little, it shifts a little of its agenda, saying law recognizes Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and Christianity, but Buddhism is given a privileged status as the foremost place. This is in the constitution. When this says, it's okay, the majority is the Buddhist, so fine. But even to mention that in the constitution, people have taken it for granted, especially the Buddhists and the Buddhist monks, where they draw a different line when it comes to the minority. They think that they can overpower them simply because this constitution allows them to be more, giving them more priority. So this landscape, based on this religious and caste and ethnicity, is a huge thing in Sri Lanka. When you say religion is foremost, then you know they are the majority. Then all the other religion becomes minority. So then the rest plays very well. When it comes to caste, when it comes to ethnicity, everything is second level. So at the moment with this government, of course, we have not seen any major escalation of this any minority or majority clashes and ethnicity clashes, or there is no room at the moment, because the president of this country has said that there will never be anything related to racial. But however, it's only 1 year past, and the signs are not very good, I would say, because as of now there is a mass grave site in the northern province, which is with 240 skeleton remains have been unearthed. It's in the Tamil majority area. And so far, the government has allowed that to happen, to excavate, giving all the support. However, related to that, we still don't know what measures the government will take. If this has happened in the south, it has happened in the south. But again, then the south versus northern remains, I have two different factors, because if you want to, because this is very current, that's what I have to tell you. Because when people saw the skeletons in the northern province, many started to generalize it, saying such skeletons are even found in the south. Such skeletons have been killed and murdered by many other groups in the country. But does it match? That is where it comes to. Can the northern skeleton remains are also humans? In south also it's humans. But there is a level of understanding why it's getting international attention for the northern skeletons findings rather than the southern skeleton finding. If anybody knows the difference is a huge one. Because when you talk about killing of minorities, it's a systematic operation. It is not even or even an ethnic cleansing, genocide, all that comes in when it happens, because powerless, voiceless people are the minority people. But killing of person from the majority within their own group, intra-majority conflict, usually reflects political class or factional struggles only, which they can confront, they can go to the justice system, they can face, they can speak, fight. Can this be possible with the people in the north or east or minorities or any other minority group in Sri Lanka is what we have to think of. Every time there is something found in the north, or it's been generalized, categorized. So similarly, when it comes to LTT killings and the state involving the similar killing patterns are two different things. But here they have generalized it again, saying that when the Tamils are killed in the country, and the Sinhalese are killed in the country, and they say the Sinhalese killing is also similar to what the Tamils are being killed. It is not so. When you cannot compare the state killing versus guerrilla killing people, because state is not to be there to kill people or make them defenseless and then make them shut their voices. So these two differences are not understood by many people in Sri Lanka. When you talk about the Tamils being killed, what about LTT killing? That's how they raise. So when you say LTT killing and Tamils being killed by the single state, it's not the same thing. This particular understanding is not there in this country. I'm very sad to say. Every time I raise this thing that the Tamils have been killed or they have been assaulted, or even the LTT assaulted and killed Sinhala villages, but it isn't the same. The highlight of power imbalance is there that they must understand. The majority killing, there is usually a power imbalance, state or dominant majority forces versus marginalized group. In intra-majority killing, both sides often share similar power bases, identities, and political representations, but still the voiceless are the minority people. So this understanding of the majority generalizing that every action of what is happening to the Tamil people or the Muslim people in the country cannot be compared to the same factor happening in the majority. That's why the international community always focus on the minority issues, because one thing is that they are voiceless and they are powerless. Even say a Tamil political party, they say they are very racist, but how far can they go being a racist? Can they take over a Buddhist monk who is talking ill of the Tamil race? Can they take him to task? Can they politically or justify and say that he's doing wrong? Will anyone understand this? No, they will not allow. So these factors are to be really clearly told to the people of any country where there is a minority community living. You cannot be compared to the majority's thinking, majority's activity versus the minority activities. Because I always say LTT paid a price for what they did. They were humiliated, they were destroyed, they were tortured and killed, and okay, they have the right to do because it's a terrorist. But the state cannot do the same. That's where the difference is. So saying that at the moment the country is safe, we are finding the rule governance is quite okay, but still it is not defined properly. It's a deafening silence here right now. But hopefully we will see after the United Nations Human Rights Council that is going on now. There is a lot of debate on Sri Lanka. Many countries wanted to pass a resolution on this country. Sri Lanka is fighting that such murders and killings cannot be put into a system with international community support. They want a local mechanism to identify all these atrocities happen to the minority communities in Sri Lanka. I am very doubtful. I have always been doubtful. This is my personal opinion. To what great extent can this government go doing the right thing and justifying what they want to do, because all the governments in the past fail, and that is mainly because the moment you touch the so-called war heroes in Sri Lanka, your regime or your government can topple, because it's very connected with heroism, Buddhism. All that factor is connected to the majority. And if you try to say that these forces killed the Tamils, or there was alleged war crimes, the moment the government endorse it, they will be in trouble. Their government will not come into power again, or they can even be toppled by the majority people. So we have that. We know that. So having that said, we still have hopes that this government that came with a different agenda, different perspective, different promises that was not reflected by the former governments, who did say something but never did they have completed anything of that sort. There are so many presidential commission appointed to look into the grave atrocities committed by the state. There is also a lot of information about it, but none of them had touched on those. But I hope this government will take some action in coming years and months and years, will attend to this seriously and be create this confidence in the minority community in Sri Lanka, which we have never had. That being a minority, I am still skeptical about it, but I have not given up my hopes, and I hope to see this government takes a different point of view and kind of do the right thing for the people of Sri Lanka. Leave minority out, leave majority out, leave all the religious factor, custom, caste factor, everything out. You take care of your own country people. That is how they should look at it. And then if they do it, I think we have crossed that marginalized community tag in the coming months or future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sulochana, for bringing in your perspective, and you have very carefully draw the lines and the differences between majoritarianism and the issues that minorities are facing. And you said it, very rightly, that you cannot, just tell them to, to do the things on their own, right? There has to be a state responsibility to address their issues. So we are running short of time, so I won't be say a lot as in terms of insertion. So I'll quickly move our focus to Usman, Shamim, Siddiqui with a question. That Pakistan's democracy is under also a radar. That continues to face the cycles of authoritarian intervention, institutional imbalance, and shrinking civic freedoms. How do you think marginalized groups, religious minorities, specifically women and young and youth, can assert their democratic rights within such an unstable system? And what the role do the international network can play to bringing solidarity and play in sustaining their struggles?
Thank you, Furqan. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening to you all. I'm really happy and thrilled to be sharing this space with such distinguished guests. So, Furqan, for being a student of democratization processes, I find it very difficult to answer and justify what has happened to South Asian democracies. And when we try to answer this, this is where the common sense lies, that we start locating where the problem is. And in order to do that, we don't actually look at the philosophy of why democratization processes have failed. And for that reason, in adding what Mr. Sulochana just said about Sri Lanka, we have to take a step back from the everyday vocabulary that we use for democracy, and we have to look at it with the lens of coloniality. So when I look at this phenomena of failed democracies in particularly South Asian region, because we share these common borders and we share the common inheritance and everything, and the colonial legacy as well. So when I look at it, I see that it is actually a lingering afterlife of colonialism. And these structures that were made to control the societies, the colonial societies of South Asia, are still present, and the rulers actually are changed, but the rules have not changed. And in those structures, the particular hierarchies have represented, in a sense, that we have created this sense of marginalization among the social periphery. So when this happens, the grudges increase. And what we have seen in the recent past with the South Asian youth and democracies, coming to your particular question, this is because of that resentment and that heat that is generated by this marginalization. And these government mechanisms, they continue to shape the post-colonial societies as well. And it is very much important to discuss why this is happening and how this is happening. And because I believe that this is not an accident, the reason that this is happening. The South Asian democracies are actually tied to tied to their colonial inheritance, and where control is considered a sense of representation and the emancipation that is to be felt, as Sulochana mentioned, that emancipatory logic behind the democratization processes and behind the democratic societies. It is very important to digest that phenomena, because this colonial inheritance, if it does not give social emancipation, it only justifies control for the majoritarian rules and the people who are dominant in the power, then there is no point of being a democratic country. And these democratic ideas, this democracy as a phenomenon, remains a foreign and alien idea. So when same rulers rule and the rules are not changed, this is how actually colonial imprints work, and this is not an accident. Democracies in South Asia are pretty much they are constrained phenomena, and they are there. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to representation, as Sulochana mentioned, that formal inclusion becomes the substantial exclusion. So this happens because by law and by citizenship we remain equal, but in actual the representation is so centered, and it does not represent the social periphery. So the democratic results that we are trying to achieve, they won't happen, and it is because of this ruling elite. They do it for themselves, and they deliberately draw this power from that structure that manifests itself from its colonial legacy. So I think it is very important to understand when it comes to rights, as the topic suggests, whether it is Pakistan, Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, and everywhere. When it comes to rights, there are rights for everybody, but it is actually seems like a control mechanism. Let's look at the counterterrorism laws in South Asia. Let's look at this counter-extremism and radicalization programs across the world. They represent that colonial logic that the dissent is considered alien, and a good citizen is the one who is conforming to the majoritarian ideas, and it is not allowed to put a dissent, and it is his voice is never heard. This colonial logic produces certain problems in the periphery, and this needs to be addressed in a sense that we have to first acknowledge it. I think it is now the time for South Asian youth to understand that why this is happening and why this structure works. When we talk about democracy in our respective countries, we speak of it as something not fixable, or as something not ours. But the problem is not with the democratization processes. Problem is not with the democracy. Problem is with the people who are narrating and who are explaining what democracy is. And this embedded coloniality by far remains most of the issues that we face in our recent times. So our South Asian history is like that. The sense of citizenship is tied to the sense of how much belongingness you show for the country, and this narrative of national security and bringing everybody under control, dissenting voices not being heard. These are all those colonial patterns through which we were governed for many years. So if we want to have an emancipatory project out of it, we have to see that these tainted institutions that explain these democratic ideas to us are fought back, in a sense that the voices from the below, voices from the margins, voices from the social peripheries are included, and they are the point of beginning. They are point of initiating a discussion and then moving forward from them. And the people who are marginalized, when they are spoken for by the elite, it always captures the elitist ideas, and it does not give them a voice. So let's start focusing on listening what the periphery says. The art, the culture, the inheritance. There are laws in India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, where good citizen is the one who is conforming to the center. And when representativeness is heard, then there is no sense of democracy. There is no democracy. So these marginalized communities are to be heard before. And otherwise this sense of equality in the one hand creates a paradox, and it provides asymmetry in the social hierarchy. So when these social hierarchies are there, when citizenship is divided among good citizen and dissenting citizen, and lesser of a citizen, these problems won't get their answer. So as an academic, I would encourage academia, journalistic communities, and NGOs like yourself to look beyond what the problem is and actually putting it into the colonial frame of reference, where there is much where this elite would not want, this elite-driven society would not want us to look at. So in order to have a say in this scenario, the discussion has to be started with the marginalized communities. That's what I have in mind about this. And particularly when we speak about Pakistan, Pakistan is a complex country, and whatever I have said is quite right for Pakistan as well, because when we inherited coloniality, our laws, our penal codes, our parliamentary structures, they are all embedded in coloniality. And when these structures do not represent, we see marginalized communities represented there, but are their voices heard? No, I don't think so. And when it comes to Sri Lanka, when it comes to India, when it comes to Bangladesh, same is the problem, because we share the similar past, and this past of coloniality is actually used against the very marginalized communities who are a social periphery and are not heard, and they are spoken for, and when they are being spoken for, their actual voices are not heard. So this is what I have in mind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Usman, for drawing the line on the essence of representation and lack of representation that you talk about. And you rightly said that we do inherit the colonial past, and you've given us the generalized perspective that implies not only on South Asian countries, but mostly on other countries as well. So we are unable to get a hold of our another speaker who was still facing problems with weather and communication issues. So on this note, Sulochana, I think we must wrap up this because you also have to go. And thank you so much for bringing in your perspective. What really emerges from this discourse today, that democracy in South Asia cannot be reduced to just elections alone. It must be measured by how it treats its most vulnerable communities, whether in Nepal's fragile political system, whether it's in Sri Lanka's democratic crisis, whether India's majoritarian turn to Pakistan's authoritarian cycles. The real test of democracy, it's not its survival in form, but it's in substance, representation, rights, and realities for marginalized communities. So we at SARIM, as Usman said, we will remain, consistent to keeping this conversation alive, building transitional solidarity, and amplifying the voices too often silenced. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was nice being part of it. But I would like to add to this, saying that the colonial era has gone past about 70 years now. Still going by that yardstick is actually, I think it's less been said, because we have moved very much into the future. And this blame game of colonial era and what they did was is actually should not be the point of understanding the present context, because this is totally a new era, and you can see they think beyond the colonial times. That time it wasn't. I always think about the colonial era was that they had nothing much to do because they had language issues. So they just went by making provinces and districts based on the language and all that thing. They wouldn't have had a proper understanding of the background of. I'm talking about Sri Lanka, but we all understood that they have messed up a lot.
Yeah, but that messing up is
and now we have replanned, but our mentality is very colonial. That is what I would say.
Yes, that's where I am. That's where I locate the problem, because that helps them to manifest power in such a way that, because they have when the colonial era ends and the colonizers, they go back to their nest. What happens is that they leave a class that they use to maintain power and hierarchy. And that in Pakistan and India and everywhere else in South Asia, more or less, what happens is that this representation is there, this elite representation who are awarded by those colonial masters. They are there, their structures are there, these people, these families are there, and this pattern of coloniality still persists in our laws. Look at in Pakistan we have a penal code. In India we also have a penal code, and that penal code was drafted to control the colonial era that Britishers ruled over us. So and then that Citizen Amendment Act that India has that also categorizes communities, and that's what marginalization. That's where marginalization starts. So I think yes, we have come far away from independence, but still those structures are embedded, and those structures are actually there. It's not an accident. It is by design there, because it was by design there in the first place when the colonization occurs. So I think yes, we have come so far. What's happening in Nepal is actually the manifestation of this frustration. This burst out is against those colonial mechanisms. The type of representative democracy that they have, that is corrupt.
But unfortunately, they were never colonized. That's the beauty here.
Yes, but because we share the same. Yes, because we share the same same space, same region. The sentiment is there.
You are right. I think I see that.
So I can see that there's a discourse coming on. There's a difference coming up from the panelists themselves. So we'll leave that for another, episode or discussion as well. That why we're still languishing behind these colonial legacies. Is it time for us to move forward, to learn the new dimensions of countries that are adopting and that are being very inclusive? Take the example of Netherlands. Take the example of Japan, South Korea as well. They have, moved out from their past. So on this note, thank you so much, Sulochana and Usman, for bringing in your discussion, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Furqan.